In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your rear strut mount and boot on your Toyota Camry. It's located behind your rear wheel. We're going to remove our hubcap using a pry bar. Just get in there a little bit, pull it away, walk it around, and remove it. Using a 21mm socket, we're going to remove our wheel. Remove your wheel. Begin by pulling up on your rear seat and unlatching it. And then slide this back a tiny bit just so you can get to a bolt that's in here. You're going to use a 12mm socket and an extension to reach it. Remove the bolt, set it aside. Now you're going to fold down in your back of your seat by pulling up on this here and then pushing it down. We're going to move our seatbelt out of the way and pick up on this cushion that you just unbolted. Push it up to unhook it. Remove that, set it aside. Now we're in the wheel well on the passenger side. Using an 18mm wrench, we're going to hold on to the back side. So you're going to see the bracket. There's two flat spots. And you want to hold this from spinning, the stud, when we take this nut off the sway bar link. So we're just going to disconnect the top part of the sway bar link. So use your 18mm wrench for the back. And for the front, where the nut is, it's a 15mm socket. Might be warm. You can remove your sway bar link and set it aside. I'm going to use a 12mm socket and take out this bolt. Now you can move your hose out of the bracket gently. We're going to remove this bolt now with a 10mm socket. At this point, it's a good idea to support your rear axle, because when we take this strut out, you're going to need to support that. So before removing those nuts on the top, or these bolts here, make sure you have something to support it. Using a 19mm socket, I'm going to take off the nuts, these two nuts. Use a wrench on the other side to hold the head still. Now remove the top one. Hold the head still. I'm going to tap these bolts out. I'm using a rubber mallet. Again, we have our suspension supported with a jack underneath. I'm going to use a punch for the bottom one. I'm going to put a punch through, just hold that. up while I take out the nuts on the top. Using a 12mm socket. We're going to take off these 3 nuts. There's one here, and one where my socket is. Remove the nut. Do the same for the other 2. I'm going to leave this one on just a little bit and go for this last one over here. I'm going to use a wrench for this last one over here. It's hard to get my socket and ratchet in there. Take off that last one. Now, we're going to lower down our strut. Remove your punch. I'm going to use a pry bar and I'm going to push the strut away from the knuckle. Be careful of that brake line. Once it's free from the knuckle, we're going to remove the strut. So you want to set up your spring and your machine or whatever you have that you're using. Make sure you mark where the mount is according to where the spring is and where the base and where the 2 bolts go. So I put a line that goes all the way down to just make sure I install it properly. And now we're going to compress the spring. So you're going to compress that spring until this feels loose. Once that's loose, we're going to take off this nut using a strut tool like this. I'm going to put that right on top of the nut. It's a 22mm. And we're going to use a 10mm on the stud if it starts to spin, which usually it does. At this point, I'm going to hold this up and take it off the rest of the way. And I'm going to drop this down. After you remove the mount, you're going to remove your old sleeve off the strut. After you remove the sleeve, we're ready to install. Put your new mount in. Make sure you put it exactly how the old one was. That's why you marked it. That's why I'm putting this stud in line with this yellow mark. And then we're going to take the shock and I'm going to feed it up through, making sure that this mark is in line with these. And once you're there, you can put your nut on. Now we're going to put our spacer on that came off the old one, and we're going to put our nut on. We're going to tighten that down, and we're going to torque that to 36 foot-pounds. If it's spinning, you're going to need to hold it still, same way when you took it off. Just make sure that your whole assembly stays in line with itself. This will spin a little bit as you go. It's just important at the end to make sure it's where it belongs. Try to hold that still. I have my torque wrench set to 36 foot-pounds. Once that's torqued, we're gonna decompress the spring. All right, so I'm making sure everything's lined up once again. The end of the spring goes here, my lines line up. So now, everything left is this. Make sure that's in line. And this is where it belongs. So everything's in line. Let's undo the spring. Feels pretty good. So now we're gonna take out our spring and install it into the car. Now we're gonna install our strut. We're gonna feed it in. I have a punch ready. Make it go up. So after you line it up, I have my punch ready to push through, hold it in place while I catch a nut on the top. So you're going to want to line up your studs up top and pick up your strut on the bottom. Once you have your studs through, you're going to start your nut. I would start all three if you can. Tighten down my other ones a little bit. Now I'm going to just give this a couple of whacks. Use my punch for the rest of the way. Use a punch the rest of the way. Line up those holes. And now we're going to feed our bolts through. Now we're going to get our bolt in. You may have to do a little wiggling. put a punch in on the bottom and then push in on the top. Stop your bolt. It's almost there. Just gonna start this on the other side. Now you're gonna get your other one in on the bottom. So you may have to do some wiggling with a punch on the other side to get that second bolt in. And then tap it the rest of the way. Let's tighten these up. Make sure you have your wrench on the other end holding it. And we're going to be torquing these to 188 foot-pounds. Do the same on the bottom. Careful of that brake hose. Make sure you hold the head of the bolt. Leave that there to torque. Make sure the head of the bolt doesn't turn. Hold it still with a wrench, or if it's tight enough already, you'll be fine. We're going to torque this to 188 foot-pounds. Our head is moving slightly, so I'm going to get my wrench. And we'll do the top one. Again, make sure this head isn't spinning. Your ABS sensor bracket in first. Make sure that that little lip thing is stuck in the guide where it belongs and that your bolt hole is lined up. Once you get that started, you can line up your hose, slide it in, and get that bolt going. Now you can snug both bolts up. This one's the 12 millimeter, and the other one is a 10 millimeter. Now we're going to put our sway bar link back in. To do that, you're going to take the nut off if you put it back on, like I do, and line it up, push it through. Put the nut on. When we tighten this down, you're going to want to hold the back of the sway bar link with that wrench. So using an 18 millimeter, you're going to hold that still, and you're going to snug up the nut. Now we're going to snug this up. So now we're going to torque this to 29 foot-pounds. Now we're going to remove our jack. And we're going to go tighten and torque the top 3 nuts. Now we're going to torque our 3 nuts. Do the same for the other 2. After you're done torquing those, you're going to lower that foam down, and then we'll start putting the seat back together. Now we're going to install our side panel. This hook goes inside the car, so make sure you get the seat belt out of the way and line everything up. You're going to push in. Make sure your seatbelt's out of the way on the bottom as well, and everything's lined up down there. You're gonna have to put some pressure on it and then slide it down. Make sure the top is connected. And then you're gonna look down here and make sure that your bolt lines up. Pull your seatbelt aside, and you're gonna pull up on your back and click it into place. Now we're gonna pull our back seat forward so we can get to that spot where that bolt goes. Get your socket, extension, and bolt ready. And get your bolt started. Once you get the bolt started, you can tighten it down. I would get it snug and go a quarter of a turn. That should be good. Now you're going to push your seat back and click it into the front clip by pushing down. Should snap in. Put your wheel on. Start your lug nuts. We're going to tighten these up in a star-like pattern. I usually position it so this one's on the bottom, and then walk the rim up. We're going to torque our lug nuts to 76 foot-pounds using a 21mm socket. Line up your valve stem with your hubcap. Put it in and gently tap it all the way around the perimeter. Now you're going to want to take your vehicle down to your local alignment shop to get it aligned.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.